Are you ready to learn what red flags keep an eye out for when looking for love?
Then we got you covered. I'm Brianna.
And I'm Alex.
And this is the podcast where we unpack reality TV and call out the bullshit.
So that you show up confidently while dating and in relationships. Welcome to Ditch the Script.
I love it.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome to Saturday. We're here on a Saturday.
Welcome. Have we ever recorded on a Saturday before? I don't know. Maybe we have.
I don't think so. We did Tuesdays, we did Mondays, we did Thursdays. We've been doing Sundays. And today's a Saturday.
Tuesdays at one point.
Did we do? Oh, you're probably right about that.
know.
You're right. You're right. No, we did Tuesdays. Wow, we have been all over the map.
All over the place.
God.
But now
Okay.
we're on Saturday.
We're approaching our 1-year anniversary.
I know.
So
We gotta figure out something.
I know. How do we celebrate? Well,
I don't know. Ideas are welcome.
we are sort of celebrating full circle. We're starting with a new Bachelor Nation series by the time our 1 year hits.
True.
One thing I want to say in a brief reflection of our almost 365 days of doing this and almost full 52 weeks of doing this is that it has been so good for our friendship.
Yes. I know. We talk so consistently now.
Yeah. Yeah. Like we are so in step in each other's lives. And that is such a gift. That if truly
It's like a beautiful gift.
nothing else, if like the whole thing blows up, which I don't see it happening, but if the whole thing blows up and like that's what I'm left with, I'm grateful.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. I know. I love our weekly little dates and chats, and then obviously the textual relationship between is worth it. Hashtag worth it. All the way around.
Worth it. Anyway, I just wanted to say that.
I love it.
Speaking of The Bachelor and The Bachelorette and all things Bachelor Nation, which I'm still adjusting to as like a new person in this world. But there's something that I wanted your opinion on we're coming up on the end of the finale of this season of The Bachelorette. There's one more episode. Like they're really drawing out the finale. Like,
okay.
What we do know, I'm going to tell you what we do know. We do know that there's only one guy left for each of the women.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. So Rachel has Tino. Oh, sorry. Spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert.
That's okay. I'm just on the part. Yeah, it's spoiler central, and I'm just on the part where they're going on Tino's hometown date. So this is perfect.
Yeah. So
okay, great.
Tino is left for Rachel.
Great.
And Eric is left for Gabby.
Okay, great. I just watched their hometown where she was like, "That just changed my life." Okay, great. Cool.
Yeah.
Figures.
Wasn't their hometown so sweet with Eric?
It was cute. It was cute. I was also cleaning, so I wasn't paying too much attention to it.
Cool.
But I did like how they came together towards the end of the date. It was very cute. Yeah. Like you could just tell there was a lot of like emotional sizzle is what I'm looking for.
There was also a hometown in Palm Beach County, Florida.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Crazy.
What was his name? James or something? Jason?
No, not Jason.
It's a J name.
Not Johnny. It was Johnny.
Johnny.
Yeah.
There you go.
There was a Jason. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Those J names, man.
They'll get you, won't they?
I used to have such a thing. I feel like I've dated so many guys with J names. It's like, and then my father has a J name. So I'm like, is there a correlation there? So it makes me a little anxious.
It's a coincidence. J names are very popular male names. Jamie.
This is true.
My brother's name is Jamie.
Your brother's a James. Jesus. Is it Jamie? Guys, okay. Let me just be very honest with you all. I've had a crazy week, so there's probably going to be more of those ahead. Fair warning.
And we intend to keep every moment.
But I'm not here.
Yeah. Yes, it's Jamie, but it's funny because that does typically trip people up. They think that Jamie's name is
I've never
short for
gotten
something.
Jamie's name wrong. I also will respond to his stories occasionally if I feel the need to comment on something like the Choco Taco fiasco. Not okay
Yes.
with that. That's an abomination to this planet and the betterment of humankind.
Mm-hmm.
I love Choco Tacos. I'm still in shock. I'm in denial. That's just not okay to me. But yeah, Jamie, known him for a while.
I know.
Screwed up his name just now.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. It's I don't think he's going to take it personally, and I'm not sure if he's listening. So, Jamie,
yeah, he probably isn't. He's probably like, really, Brie? You think I listened to your show?
Yeah. He like supports it, but he's not like.
We love you, Jamie.
Yeah, we love you,
That's
but
okay.
he's not like dialed in. This
no
is like
judgment.
our time to talk shit about him if we wanted to, because he's never going to hear it.
Okay.
We don't have.
I don't really have anything negative to say.
No, he's such a good dude. He's a
great dude. Yeah. Orange County ladies, look out for that guy.
Oh
on
yeah.
Oh my Come on, girls, swipe right.
Let's sign him up for the Bachelorette in the future.
Let's do that right now. Okay. He would hate us, but we're gonna do it.
Yeah.
He would get picked too.
100%.
He would
totally get picked. He's like, he has the look. He has the build.
He's got
the job.
He has the family. His hometown would be so fun.
Oh my God. Could you imagine?
Can I crash it? I'm crashing it.
Yeah.
Here, they'll pan. Here's the Dutchison family. And then over here, and the groupie. the random girl who thinks she's entitled to be here on this hometown.
She's our Dutch clan expert. You're an expert.
Okay. I don't know. An expert on the Dutch clan. I think it's just
pretty close. And close.
I want to be in on that vibe.
Yeah. Oh,
okay.
God.
It's happening.
Okay. So speaking of not exactly a hometown, but Rachel. So Avon met Rachel's family and friends, and they really grilled him. And what they find out, this is what happens with Rachel. They find out that he's not exactly ready to propose to her in the next like 3 days that they have left in the show.
Okay.
So he has been telling her, I want to get engaged. I see you in my life for the rest of my life. But he told the family,
he's like,
I don't know if I'll be there by the end of the show, but I want to continue to see her. She's really important to me.
Respectable.
She flipped out. And this is what I want your thoughts on, because quick detour. Gabby also had a conversation with Eric, and he's saying, you know, like, this is a big commitment. Like, I want to be with you. You're like, you are my future, but like, to get engaged in a couple of days, like, I just want to like, I don't know. That seems like a lot. And Avon was saying the same thing. He's like, I want to be with you, but I want to make sure that this is the right thing for both of us. So let's keep seeing each other. And these two women had a full emotional reaction, which they're entitled to have, to the fact that these men were suggesting that they weren't going to be ready to propose. And they were really upset about that. They were like, but what if I want to be engaged? And I want to talk about the engagement. I want to talk about that pressure.
Yeah. Okay. So what's the question? What do I think about the reaction, or what do I think about the guys speaking up for that?
Okay. What do you think about the guys being honest about where they're at? And
I think that's sexy as fuck.
I think that it was honest. And I think that the criticism from Rachel and other people who have been watching this is like, it's inconsistent with what he was telling Rachel, which was like, I want to be engaged to you. I want to be engaged to you. And so people find that part to be disingenuous, just to like sort of stay in. And it's true in a show like the Bachelor series type shows,
right?
If you are not talking about long-term, I want us to get married, like, there are going to be other people that are more quote serious in that language, and will probably be prioritized when the lead is making their choices of who to pick, right? Yeah. But I do think that this is an honest reflection of where these people are. I think their feelings is a reflection of current trends, which is that it is fucking absurd to get engaged to a person that you've known for 11 weeks, but you've only been able to see for about 45 minutes unless you had a one-on-one date. 45 minutes a week. unless you have a one-on-one date, which is like 8 hours in a day. Like,
yeah,
I think that is insane to be ready to be engaged. Too. Generally,
which is why we're going to sign Jamie up for it. Okay, so look, I have a few feelings about this. So I'm on board with if he's been very much stating like, I want to be engaged, you're the person for me, I love you so much, I see you as my future wifey, having my babies, and engagement, and then all of a sudden is like slamming on the brakes, being like, no, I don't think so. I think there's two reasons that can happen. One, absolutely, there is the possibility that this person wanted the internet, social media clout, and the television fame, so stayed on the show, and use that language to stay on the show. It also could be, and I think a lot of women struggle with this too. I mean, everyone struggles with this, but like the idea of an engagement sounds so exciting, right? But the reality of the engagement being around the corner is a very different vibe, right? So I think that that's also a possibility that this person could be struggling with, is like, oh my God, yes, I want to be, they're getting caught up in all the feels, the excitement of traveling and falling in love and, having all these exciting times. So yeah, of course I'm down to get engaged, but then all of a sudden meeting the fam, having more harder, challenging conversations. That was not proper grammar, but whatever. And
I'm following.
She's following. That's all that matters. We're speaking English, sort of.
We're trying to.
And we're trying. And, for him to kind of swallow the reality pill, if you will, of like, oh, wait, that's supposed to happen in a week or two. Then all of a sudden they start looking at things differently and more intentionally. And that could cause some questions to come up. Regardless, I'm very proud of them for being honest with their person. And if I were one of the girls, I would be so thankful that they're being honest with me. And I wouldn't be closed off but see, this is me. And this is what I think is a challenge, is like, are you going on the show for a ring? A Neil Lane ring, or are you going on the show for a lifetime partner? If you're going on the show for a Neil Lane ring, sure, obsess over the engagement. You want the ring, you want the giant rock on your finger, fine. If you want a lifelong partner, then someone bringing their needs up and their concerns up and their pacing up is a beautiful thing to happen and a very realistic thing to happen in relationships. And I think that if these girls understand and have the emotional intelligence of like, wait a second, let me measure this against a real life, normal day-to-day relationship. I'm excited about the fact that he's being honest with where he's at. I'm excited about the fact that he's being transparent with me, even when it's uncomfortable. I would value that in a person and be like, wait, this just made me more attracted to you, even though this isn't necessarily what I want to hear. But I know that this is a transferable skill to our real life relationship. Those are my thoughts and feelings.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think, well, first of all, that is not the reaction that came of those moments. And I understand. I think that a lot of bachelorette leads in this position see the engagement as a measure of success in context of the show, which makes sense because that is the show. You're supposed to end with an engagement. But these are also real people that are making commitments to a relationship, and whether you like it or not, Bachelor ABC, our culture continues to change and our norms continue to change. And of course there are still people that get engaged quite quickly after meeting each other, and that's fine. Do what you feel like is right for you. But like, a lot of us are also dating for quite some time, or at least longer than 12 weeks, to be able to see if this person is a good fit for me. And I also want to notice, and granted, I don't know anything about this couple. I don't know if they're truly happy, but I follow Matt James and Rachel Kirkconnell on social medias and stuff. Yeah. They left the show not engaged. They left together, and then of course they broke up, and then they got back together. But they left the show not engaged, and in their relationship now, they seem incredibly happy. They are still not engaged, and they're happy. Like, they're just doing life together. And I thought, I know, what a shock. I think that the point of the show, from my perspective, my one lens, I just got to Bachelor Nation yesterday lens, I thought that the point of the show was to find someone that you love, that you want to do life with, and that you want to work towards that commitment with. Of course, I understand, historically speaking, ends in an engagement. That's the whole, it's the end of the series. It's how you're supposed to end on this happy note. But I just feel like it's being dishonest. And I think that we could have cooler conversations in the show while it's happening in the AFR period of the show, to talk about why this was the best fit for us, why it made sense for us to be we want to just continue to be with each other and get to know each other.
Yeah.
So it feels like we put so much pressure on on the engagement. And I'm going to single women out here, because I know that we as women are conditioned to favor the engagement, to favor marriage, the overall commitment. And there are just so many different ways that someone can be committed to you. And Rachel was having Avon look her in the eyes and say, listen, I chose to be honest with the people that you love the most in the moment when they were asking me really difficult questions. And I didn't want to lie to them and say, oh yeah, I'm going to propose in 2 days. And then what happens if I don't do that? I wanted to be honest because I know that these people are really important to you. And he was letting her know, listen, I know that we can get there. I know that we're on the way to get there. I feel so strongly about you. I want us to be together.
Beautiful.
I see us being together. This does not change how I feel. And she could not hear anything other than, you were telling me you were ready for an engagement and now you're not ready to propose. And he's like, I am ready for an engagement. And what I understand about that is he's saying, I am at a place in my life where marriage is very much on the horizon for me, but I don't want to propose in 3 days.
Yes.
And she couldn't hear that.
That's really sad. And that is going to be that right there. Is this Rachel or Gabby who couldn't hear this one?
This is Rachel.
Okay. That is going to come back to bite her in the ass in all of her relationships, whether it works out with this person or not, because the inability to hear, and let's also give grace in the fact that selective hearing is a thing, because when we are dysregulated, meaning we're entering survival mode, which I can definitely guarantee this is happening. She's panicking. Your ear bones freaking start to close up. The little scientific fact there. So it's it really does become you cannot hear when you're on the defense. You cannot hear. You cannot be open-minded. And so if she, was a little bit further along in the emotional maturity journey, she would understand that and be able to okay, wait, let me take a breath. Let me take care of myself real quick so I can actually have this conversation and fully understand where you're coming from. But when we're not in that emotional mature space yet, because of, regardless of our story, whether it's past trauma or our age or whatever, we quite literally will make a lot of issues out of nothing because of our own inability to just actively listen. Mm-hmm. So, she's going to carry that into other relationships if she doesn't figure out how to stay present and how to regulate through those uncomfortable times, which it's a skill set. It's not something that they teach us in high school. I really wish they did. Yeah. That would be so helpful to be here's how we handle uncomfortable feelings, everybody. Let's work on it together.
Well, also I do think that parents should be responsible in helping have those conversations as well. It's
totally.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, unfortunately, parents can't do that. The skill we're talking about right now. Yeah. And so they end up causing it in their kids because it's just monkey see, monkey do. And it's a hot mess ripple effect. But what Bree is saying is right. He's not saying that he doesn't want to get engaged or he's not ready for engagement. He's saying engagement's absolutely a possibility. I just want more time with you to make sure this is the right fit for both of us, which I completely agree. What's going to be more painful, kicking the can of the engagement down the road or getting engaged and then having to publicly break up?
Girl,
come on.
Yeah.
It's I would much rather I would just, of course, I think she's allowed to be upset. Like you said, oh man, I was really hoping I'd come on this show, find my person, and we would get engaged and we would have the full shebang. And I'd get the needle ring, which would be, a little nice ice on my finger or whatever. But at the end of the day, what matters more to you? What are you valuing here? And that's why
that's what I'm saying.
The ring or the actual relationship?
Yeah. Listen, I'm confused.
I'm
confused.
I thought this was a show about love.
I thought we were here to fall in love with each other. I didn't know that we were here just for the
diamonds.
The rock. Yeah, for sure.
Diamonds.
Okay, I have a question. Who's Neil Lane?
The guy that's always like, congratulations, are you getting the dude that comes in with the case of diamonds?
Shut up.
No, that's him. That's Neil Lane himself in the flesh with his case of Neil Lane ring diamonds. Who's like, which one do you want?
Oh my goodness. I had no idea.
Yeah.
I'm like, Neil Lane, he sounds expensive.
He is. He looks like it. And I also heard, and I don't know if this is true, but I heard that if a couple breaks up, if a bachelor couple gets engaged and they break up within 2 years of the engagement, they have to return the ring or something.
Yeah.
I heard that.
Interesting.
I don't know if that's true or not.
We should ask Nate and Michelle because they have since broken up. And related to this conversation about the engagement, and I think that so I'm not going to go into the whole thing, but Nate and Michelle broke up, and Nate had a conversation. He did an interview, his like first public interview about this with Nick Viall on his podcast. And so he's talking about the pressures of being a bachelor couple or like a Bachelor Nation couple after your show is wrapped. Yeah. Like there's a lot of events and stuff that like public stuff that you need to show up for. And it's just, it's a totally different lifestyle than what both parties were just coming from. So that's an adjustment for everyone. And so back to this honest reflection from both of these guys, actually all of these guys, because Gabby, all of her last 3 guys, Jason, Johnny, and then we find out Eric, no one's ready to get engaged. Yeah.
I applaud that self-awareness.
Yeah. Avon, not ready to get engaged. It seems like Tino, I mean, we haven't seen the last episode yet, so we don't know like if he's going to propose, but Tino is like I have a lot of feelings about Tino, and this is not the show that we're covering, so I'm going to reserve them right now. But he seems ready. He seems like very invested, and he seems like Rachel all day, every day. Like no question about it. I think that I think that it's smart for people to be like, let's just see how this goes. Let's like we love each other. Let's keep dating. Let's continue to make this commitment to each other. Let's make sure that we try to live closer together. We can make all of these other life changes to continue to build on our relationship, because the two of you are going to have to change so much. You're going to have to be under the spotlight. People now know who you are. People are now following your own cameras. They want to talk to you. You're asked to go to every other event. You are treated like this immediate social media influencer with all of these like press opportunities. Yeah. And that is like, this is really like the final test that is not aired on television. So y'all are going to need to figure that out. I don't want to do that while I'm engaged. I don't want to do that while I'm planning a wedding.
No, it's so stressful. And I think, and I was just I'm so glad you brought this up, because I think something that a lot of people don't recognize is the second that, and okay, this is also something that if you're very self-aware, you would recognize it, but let's just be real here. And I don't want to cast judgment. How do I say this? The majority of participants in this show, I feel, aren't at that place yet, fully self-aware. Mm-hmm. And I, again, making a total assumption, but here's what I mean by that. The second the ring goes on a finger, there is this anticipation of this is how we have to be. This is what needs to happen next. This is the level of commitment we have for each other. And it feels a lot harder to leave, which causes people to stay in relationships for far longer than necessary because of the uncomfortability or the discomfort of having to take the ring off, having to end the engagement, having to tell everyone after they've just done these engagement parties and what have you. So it's much more challenging to be fully present and realistic about, is this the true connection for me and the rest of my life, when you just slap a ring on there prematurely, because now your brain has like jumped light years ahead from where you are emotionally. You know what I mean? So it's like, I have so much respect for the guys being like, let me pump the brakes here. Cause like now that we're getting closer, I'm feeling some kind of way that has me apprehensive. Now, whether that's just because, like you said, it's a huge step and I want more time, or if there's something that came up in the connection that they want to explore more before they make a commitment, to each their own, like we don't need to know why, but that self-awareness and being able to stand firm and confident, and this is what I need right now, is a skill in a sense of autonomy that I value in a partner, because I would much rather have someone tell me the honest truth, even if it's going to sting a little, than throw a ring on my finger and not truly be there. Now, since you brought up Nate, let's go back in time a little bit. Nate, 2 days before, a day before, was on the fence about whether or not he was going to propose to Michelle. And look what ended up happening. And so it's like, he pushed himself to get there. He did the engagement and I'm not blaming Nate for their breakup. I really believe it takes two to tango. So it's like, whatever happened in their dynamic, something happened for the relationship to fall apart, and that's their privacy. I don't feel the need to know all the details. And I actually very much respect Nate for not divulging all the details. But, let's be real here. When we go into an engagement where 24 hours, 48 hours before we're questioning it, and then all of a sudden we're on a knee, that's not solid. That's not consistent foundational, juju that you want to carry into an engagement. So I would much rather have a guy be like, I know this is what we were talking about. I know this is where our minds were at. And as that day approaches, here's what's coming up for me. Oh my gosh, panty dropper. And go ahead.
Yeah. To know a panty dropper in the most grounded, like, we're going to get on with life.
Mature way. Yeah.
I do think like, okay, if you like, no one's faulting anyone for having an emotional response to hearing someone say,
no,
hey, I want to commit to the rest of our lives together, but I have feelings and it's making me pause for a moment. Like, of course, it's going to light up all of those parts of ourselves that are like, I'm going to be abandoned. And that is valid.
Exactly.
Yes. But as you were mentioning earlier, you need to do whatever you can to regulate yourself so that you can go back to a listening place, allow those ear bones to move out of the way.
For real.
So that you can hear this person, because if you can hear them, you'll be able to better understand where they're coming from, and also hear that they are still committed to you and they do still love you, but they are having feelings. And I would also say the same for people who maybe you're a person who has been proposed to and you didn't know that you were going to be proposed to, and you have feelings about that commitment that you're on the way to making, that being the wedding, in the time between when you got proposed and the day that you're supposed to get married. Like, maybe you have feelings about that. Maybe that's something that you would definitely want to confront for yourselves, the safe people in your life, and then to your partner to be like, hey, let's talk about this, because I think we talked about this before, but like, if you feel that way, please don't go ahead and don't make wedding plans. Don't put money in. No deposits.
No deposits. You don't get those back. Yeah.
You don't.
You don't get those back. Yeah. I want to give everyone permission who listens to our show, anyone listening, take your damn time. Take your damn time. Marriage is supposedly a lifelong commitment. And I will say this, for those of you who, no one gets married planning on getting divorced. I didn't. I thought I got married thinking this is my person. This is who and I look back on that and I have a big old belly laugh, because it was like, oh my God, I did not know myself. I didn't know who I was. I got married from a place of so not genuine, authentic love. Like, it was bad. It was bad. So let me tell you this. In my haste to get married for whatever escapism, which is a whole podcast episode on its own, because I could go down that road, but we're going to skip it today. I got married to escape a reality I wasn't happy in. And I thought that relationship would solve all my problems. And it only created more and more and more. And then I had to go through a divorce process, which let's talk about another bucket load of problems and pain and heartache. And it's not anything I wish on my least favorite. I wouldn't wish that on my least favorite person. Like, I wouldn't. It is heart wrenching. It is awful. It's not fun. It's icky, for lack of a better way to put it. And so slow down. I would rather, me personally, I would rather take my time in finding the relationship that I love and get married at 45, 50 than be like, I need to get married because I'm 30, 35, clock's ticking, oh my gosh, and just settle or choose someone out of eagerness for the relationship to fit in with society or to cloud, you know, my sense of loneliness, which there is nothing external that will ever make us feel not lonely. Like, it's just true. Being in the relationship with the wrong person will make you feel lonelier than being on your own. Like,
yeah,
so
definitely. And that all comes back to I'm looking to get married because this is what's expected of me. This is what society expects of me. This is what your family, your religion at the time expected of you. Right?
Yes.
This is also for like Rachel and Gabby. This is what the show expects of me. I am expected to be engaged
and everyone
at the
watching.
end of this process. Yeah.
And what does that mean about me if I'm the one bachelorette that doesn't get a ring this time? Girl, it means that you're the smartest one there's been. That's what that means. Like,
thank you. Thank you. That's what the fuck I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's what the fuck,
seriously.
like, how amazing would it have been to model to be like, wow, that's really interesting. I didn't know that you were feeling that way. I'm really glad that you shared that with me even. I'm going to need to think about it a little bit because it wasn't what I was expecting, but we're going to have our final date. Let's come back together. Let's talk about what you mean. Let's talk about what this could mean for us. What does this look like? Okay. Maybe what it means is we don't get engaged, but we leave very much in love. And then we maybe have this beautiful life together. And if they were able to continue that because it was genuine and it was like the right thing for them, like, listen, good models would have been made out of that.
100%. And it would give so many people who watch the show permission to do the same. And like, that's really what I want is like, you know, when we think about jewelry commercials, I was thinking about this when you're talking about, you know, women are so pushed and spoon fed to idolize the marriage, idolize, you know, that union and the pomp and circumstance of it all. And it's very true. Like, think about it's so interesting looking at marketing from the lens of like, what is this psychologically trying to tell me? It's like a lot of perfumes. It's like it's not about the perfume and like this has floral fragrances. That's not what the freaking commercial about. It's you're going to be this sexy if you wear this perfume, right?
Yeah.
That's what the commercial is. If you eat here, this is how you're going to look, right?
Yeah.
If you buy this car, these are the people you're going to hang out with. Like it's way less about the functionality of the product you're buying and more about the status or clout or the feeling that it brings up in you. Right. And so it's crazy to me when we look at the jewelry industry and especially engagement ring industry, it's all marketed to women, not the guy buying the ring. It's marketed to the woman to be like, babe, that's the ring I want. Hey, when are you putting a ring on it? That Tiffany's ring over? That's me. Get me the little blue box, please. I want the little blue box. It's like, it's so sickening to me. Right. Yeah. And it's not like men make your lady feel loved with this new solitaire setting ring. It's not that. It's literally targeted at women to get their guy to, you know, this is what I want, which is just like, so again, icky to me. So
women have always been
watch out for
consumer number one. We've always been consumer number one. It's really gross when you look into it.
It's so gross.
So, we'll see what happens on that final episode. Thanks for doing that journey with me.
It was a journey.
It was a journey. Okay. Alex and I are getting ready to do Bachelor in Paradise, which starts in another week and a half. It airs. Yep. It starts September 27th. And then we will be starting to cover that season. So we're really excited. So we probably have one more question and answer podcast episode. So please write into us. Our Instagram is Ditch the Script Pod. Go to our TikTok. You can go to our website, www.ditchthescriptpod.com. You can ask us there.
Yeah. Word. So do it. We're going to give you answers to your questions. Yeah. Today. Yeah. What do we got?
Today we're talking about this very common and what I wish would be laid to rest peacefully saying, give them a taste of your own medicine when it comes to dealing with behavior that you are experiencing in a relationship that you do not want to have. So I'm going to paint a picture. Let's say you're in a relationship with someone and you've asked them to do things differently 1 million times and they just like won't do it. They won't do it differently. They continue on with their shitty behavior. I'm not being specific for a reason, but they continue on with their shitty behavior. And therefore you're like, you know what? I'm going to give them a taste of my own medicine. I'm going to start treating them like they treat me.
Yeah. Or you have friends telling you that, which I have very much had people be like, give them a taste of their own medicine. And it's like, okay, it's something that we hear so often and it's not right. Brie and I are here to say, do not. Do not.
Also, like, has this ever worked? Has this ever yielded the results that you are hoping for, which is for them to stop doing the shitty behavior?
No. Okay. And all it does is you end up lowering yourself to that level of like, pettiness is the best word for it. It's just like, you can't meet fire with fire and expect a different result, right? It's like, if your kid's throwing a temper tantrum and you decide to throw a temper tantrum right back at, what are you doing? No, right? Like it doesn't, it just creates more dysfunction, more emotional chaos, instability, and a lack of emotional safety. Whereas if you are to the point to where that's what you're about to resort to, you're like, I'm so fed up with this. I'm just going to treat them the way that they treat me and give them a taste of their own medicine. I encourage you to ask yourself, why are you staying in this relationship if you're to that point? What is it costing you to stay in a relationship that has you to that point? You know? Yeah. Because I've been in a relationship where I was so tempted to do that. I even remember feeling that, like, oh, I'm just going to get back at you. Okay. Now I want to make space for this. Feeling that way, totally valid. Getting the frustrated and like that, oh, I'm so tempted. That's one thing. You're allowed to feel that way. Acting on it, whole nother kit and caboodle, right? Yeah. So I just want to say, if you feel that way, I don't want you walking away from this being like, oh my gosh, I'm such an awful person because I've been tempted or those thoughts have arisen in me. No, that's not what I'm saying. I want both of us, at least, or I'm assuming Bree's on this page with me, we want to give the warning of when you do that, you're actually causing more of a disturbance than a solution to occur.
Yeah, I was just going to say the same thing. Like, it's a very short-sighted reactive response. You know, this like, they want to play me like that. Okay, I'm going to do this 10 times harder. It's just like, if you are unhappy with how someone's treating you in your relationship and you want to try to teach them a lesson, I put that in air quotes. I hope that you can see that you're like adding to the plot in a way that's never going to get you closer to what you're looking for. It's chaos. And I do think that if you are prone to being like petty and like, that's how you manage conflict, I think that it's important to like reflect on that, like relationship that you have with that reaction. It's valid, but it also exists for a reason. So I would choose to dig a little and like try to figure out where that comes from. Why do I believe that this is an effective resolution? I want to debunk the myth of doing to others what they have done to you feels good. It doesn't.
No,
it doesn't feel good. So let's use cheating. So like your partner cheats on you and you find out and you're like, I'm going to fucking cheat on them. I guarantee you that part of you that was really hurt when you found out that your partner was cheating on you is still going to be hurt even when you go have sex with someone else. Yeah. I promise. I can guarantee it.
And it's not going to make you trust them any better because now you've evened the playing field. It's not going to fix anything. It's going to, most likely, it'll make you more of an emotional hot mess because having sex from that place is so intense emotionally that, I mean, I could say here with the utmost confidence, if I ever did something like that, I would cry my way through that sexual experience. Like, it wouldn't be good. It would not be a good, the person would be like, are you okay? And I'd be like, I'm doing this to get back at my cheating boyfriend. Like, I wouldn't, it wouldn't be good. It wouldn't be good. No, don't do it.
Yeah.
It sounds like it'll work, but it won't.
Let's talk about what we should do instead. Right?
Okay, let's.
Everything, in my opinion, should start with at least like recognizing that you feel the way that you feel. Like I'll tell clients all the time, like, what is it? What do you wish could happen? You know, what do you want to do? What's this like unhinged, doesn't need to abide by social norms version of you? Because what I'm asking is of the raw feelings, the feelings inside of you. How does this actually make you feel? This makes you really upset, and it makes you want to act out why, you know, which parts of you are really, really upset. We need to honor it so we can validate what the fuck is going on for you emotionally. So real. It's like, I feel really hurt. I feel hurt that this person doesn't listen to me when I've made the same request again and again to please fucking clean up the dishes. I keep asking them to clean up the dishes, and every day I come home from work and there's still a pile of fucking dishes from lunch because they've been working from home all day. And it drives me mad. And I can't tell you how many times I ask and they never fucking do it. So I'm just going to start leaving the dishes undone. I'm just going to fucking blah, 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 blah. Honor that. Honor that there's a part of you that is responding to the situation that really wants that to happen.
Yeah.
And then like, okay, what is your actual outcome? What is what is the desired outcome? What do you actually want to happen? And my imagination is that you probably want your partner in this example to start cleaning dishes before you have to ask them to, or before you come home from work, so that things are ready for you to be prepared to start making dinner. And you'd really like for them to make that effort because it would show that they cared and that they heard you. Great. Now, what do you think would be an effective way to help your partner reach that outcome? Because it's not going to be leaving all of your dishes fucked for the next 2 weeks while you continue to go insane.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, 100%. Something that I've used in relationships that I feel is really helpful is if I have made a request and I've noticed it's not happening, I get curious about why. I'm like, hey, I've noticed that I've asked for X, Y, and Z a couple times and that, you know, it's still not happening. And I'm just curious to know, like, is there any way that I can support you? Is there any way that I can remind you? Is there a reason why, like, it's not happening for you? Like, I just really want to understand where you're coming from, you know? And when we ask it in that energy, we can't just be like, be mindful of your tone and your energy when you do this. Because when you come at it from a place like I just demonstrated, your partner is going to feel safe to be like, oh yeah, you know, I just forget. Like, it's not that I just don't want to do it. I just forget. And so what would be helpful is if I put a reminder on my phone, or maybe if you shot me a text, right? Because there's two things that come up. One, I think a lot of times, especially when it's I don't want to remind you, we need to understand that if our partner's not just going to magically wake up one day wanting to do the dishes. So like wanting them to want to do the thing you're asking them to do isn't realistic, right?
Yes.
Now, we still need to get the dishes done. So it's more about, do we need to get a chore wheel on our fridge? Do we need to, it's like, whose turn is it to do the dishes? Do we need to set up a Google Cal reminder? Is that something we can share a Google Cal on like, whose week is it to do the dishes, or day is it to do the, like, you can get really practical about it, but the discussion on the solution needs to happen. All right. And the first issue to get to the solution is, now that the request has been made, I just want to dig a little deeper on why it's not happening now, from a place of pure curiosity and understanding, not from a place of, hey, I've asked you to do this and why the fuck hasn't it happened yet? Because that's really attacking energy, and that's not going to go over well. Right. Yeah. So
I'm
using
so glad
words
that you brought
like
that up.
I've noticed and I'm curious, those are really great words.
Yeah, I'm really glad you mentioned that, because it changes the whole direction of the conversation. Because I think what is most frustrating to people about getting caught in the pattern of, I ask them to do, they never do. I ask them to do, they never do. I ask them to do, they never do, which leads them to be like, well, I'm just going to do it, and then they'll see how it feels. Maybe they're a disgusting person. They're really used to their house being disgusting. Like, it's just, it's not going to be effective. But the solution here is not to okay, you've figured out how you want them to better understand from your perspective why it's important for you. You're still asking them to do and they're not doing. So I love your suggestion because it really pivots the point of view, right? Where it says, you know, I notice that I ask you a lot. I don't know if you can feel that. I don't know if you can feel that I get frustrated and I don't want to be mad with you every time. I don't want to have to be this drill sergeant house mommy that is like talking to you about chasing you around the house about chores all the time. That doesn't make me feel good, but I do it for these reasons. So I'm curious, like, what is that like for you from your side? Why do you feel like this is difficult to do? What's it like to hear that from me? You know, like let's sort of break the fourth wall in that, in the pattern that you get stuck in.
Yeah. So I'm glad you found that helpful. I feel like that's a really helpful skill to have because it's just, it really does just open the floor for truly a brainstorming session to happen on like what, and then trial and error will occur, you know, like, you know, we use sports analogies a lot when we talk about relationships, but it's so true. You know, you are making a quote unquote play for getting the dishes done. What's the play? Who's doing what at what time? What moves are they making? Right. And if it doesn't work, if that play doesn't get you to the end result or the goal that you are aiming for, you create a new play. Like, right. You don't give up on the relationship because guess what? Although this partner might not be good about doing their dishes and you're like, I'm going to go find a person who does their dishes. Well, what if their laundry stays on the floor instead of in the hamper? Like there's going to be new things in every relationship that we have to navigate. So it's not about finding a person who doesn't piss you off in these little ways or is like completely like you, because that would be really boring, I'm sure. But it's more about how can we come together truly as a team, you know, and understand like this is how we're going to set ourselves up for success, our relationship up for success. It's not about, wow, this person's so lazy, they never do the dishes. Like, I really encourage people to like flip that mindset of like assigning these words of like laziness to their partner when it could be like, I have ADHD and guess what? I definitely don't feel like doing the dishes every day. Right. Because it's something that causes me to go into executive dysfunction if I stare at it. Now, I have my own tools in place that help me. Like I'll set a race against the clock. Like how can I get this done in one song on my Google Home? Right. Like something like that. So like I play with it, but I bring this up because if I had a partner who saw that in me and was like, wow, Alex is so lazy. It's like, wait a second, I'm really not. Let me just tell you about the week I had. I'm not lazy. I'm not a lazy person.
No, but girl.
When it comes to stuff around the house, I'm really intentional about what I choose to pay attention to and where I put my energy depending on my state. So like, let's talk about how we can tag team this in a more efficient way instead of assigning or demeaning my value as a partner. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. This is another good example how Alex and I have been trying to tackle this, like this question is, it's another good example of you have a problem existing within your relationship. And these are just a few ways to try to get both parties on the same page. And that doesn't mean, please don't confuse that with, I need them to see my side and I just need them to come over to this side of the problem. No, you both have to share your perspectives about the identified problem to basically find a neutral side for you both to join on. That's what we mean.
Yeah. And in the best, and like going back to, we talked about this, gosh, forever ago about bringing humor into conflict. Like if you have a good rapport built with your partner, like I can totally see is me, because I make fun of when I look at the dishes, I literally will feel the overwhelm start to come up and I chuckle and I'm like, it's just dishes. It's not like a poisonous snake. Like I can laugh at myself because like I can feel the duality of like, I'm looking at dishes. This is the sensation going off in my body. Is the dishes in the sink really worth this type of bodily reaction? And if the answer is no, a way that I like to kind of play with myself is like, let me kind of poke fun at the fact that I'm having a very large reaction to something that's really not going to like hurt me, screw me over, demolish my life. Like, you know what I mean? And so if you have a good rapport built with your partner and you know one of you does that, we can maybe make a tongue-in-cheek inside joke about like, oh, dishes, the end of the world. I'm gonna just plug right in. Bring that into the relationship, into the discussion with you too, because it's something you guys can bond over. And also it makes doing them less of an overwhelming task, because you're like honoring and acknowledging the fact that, wow, doing the dishes does feel like an end of the world thing, but it's really not. So
yeah, cue my freak out. Yeah. I love that. That's a good idea. Breaks the tension.
Okay. What's the next one we're going to do today?
Okay. So we also thought it would be interesting to cover etiquette to abide by on social media when you find yourself curious about your new or existing partner's ex-partners. So, and granted, like Alex and I don't make the rules about stuff as much as we would love to create like a book of rules and have everyone follow them. We know that all of these things are subjective, and all of our relationships with social media are subjective. Yeah. We are coming from a place of like, what are some things that Alex and I, based on our own experiences or our own insights, would recommend that would be geared towards protecting how you feel, or at least not adding more stress or experiences that could, like, honestly, adding more triggers into your world if you can help it. So yeah, I'm dating someone. I've heard about their ex. Maybe I've seen some evidence of their ex on their social media, and I am curious. I want to know what they're like. I want to know how they dress themselves. I want to know if they still follow each other. I want to see if I can find every shred of content that they may share, and I want to figure it out. Now, what would you recommend that I do, as it's now consuming me and I am upset?
This used to be me, and it's so not me anymore.
Really?
Oh my God, yeah.
Ooh, yeah. Give us that journey.
Yeah. Okay, so I will. I love talking about this. So, I used to be like FBI stalker status, like really good at finding people on Facebook or Instagram and just like figuring out their whole lineage of past history. And it really, when I started healing and got serious about healing, I don't know what my bangs are doing today. If you're watching our YouTube channel, I've like fiddled with them a million times. Anyway, so I used to really, and I would spend hours, even like stuff that I had already seen, I would go back and look at it again and again and again and like really overly consume it. And so as I started healing, I learned about a lovely thing called emotional addiction. And I started to understand that the reason I would go stalker FBI status is because I was used to feeling less than, I was used to feeling inferior. And so in order to self-soothe, there was a part of me that felt if I could find this person, the ex, whatever, and see what they do, see how they dress, I would supposedly, the thought that I would tell myself is I'll feel better if I know what they look like and if I know how they are and what they do. But it was actually quite the opposite. It would make me feel more and more inferior and worse and less than. But I was fueled. I was addicted to feeling that way, right? I also, and like just to piggyback off of the trauma I had growing up, I have a sister who's 9 years older than me. Bree actually can testify to this because the first time you met her, I have a very vivid memory of me being like, Jackie's coming. We need to do our makeup. We need to be cute. We need to be, and I was like, I was always so compared to her that I, from a very young age, was used to feeling less than. I'm not as pretty. I'm not as smart. I'm not going to be as successful. And so that bled into my adult life with every single guy I had been with. Like I needed to know how I stacked up, and it because of the conditioning of always feeling less than, that's always where I ended up.
Yeah.
So how did I stop this? The way that I stopped it, and I tell clients this all the time, is I started a very gentle version of self-interrogation of like, I would pick the phone up, I would feel the need to lurk, and I would start to ask myself, what am I really seeking? What do I really want right now? And so the answer is I want to feel good about myself is what I wanted, but I knew that lurking was not going to make me feel good about myself. So it's like I would catch myself and then put the phone down. And I started doing things that would make me feel good about myself. I'm going to go put a face mask on. I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to go to the beach. I always went to the beach because there's something about being on the beach for me that makes my problems feel so small because it's like such an expansive place, you know? So whatever it is, but like find healthy ways to self-soothe and regulate that actually work for you, because I can guarantee that the lie or the story you're telling yourself of what social media stalking will bring you is only going to do the opposite. I can guarantee that.
Yeah. It feels really similar to like this preference to find, quote, closure. It's like, I just need closure and this is going to make me feel more resolved. We're looking to feel resolved. That's such a good example that you use, and thank you for sharing it, because I know it's part of your own personal experiences, but like, it's such a good example because I really feel like it highlights very familiar, very consistent trends that happen in that process. We start seeking information and evidence about this person that was connected to our partner because we want to better understand what drew them to them. We want to say, what did they like about them? I want to see this person through their eyes. I want to understand it. I want to get it. And what I will say is that you're never going to be able to see another person through a perspective outside of your own, really. Especially when it's so personal to like your own motivation to do that. Because I will, if I'm lurking and I'm searching, all that I'm going to find is my insecurities come up. So I'm going to see a picture of this other girl and I'm going to compare the things that I am most critical of in myself. And I'm going to compare them to what I can see in her. And I am not going to feel better, as you were sort of in search of, right? You described being in search of. Instead, I'm going to feel less than, and I'm going to wonder why this person is choosing me and not with the other partner. I'm going to wonder what's wrong with them. I'm going to make up stories. I'm going to draw connections. I'm going to fill in gaps. I'm going to be like, wow, I'm just a rebound. Like, you clearly were a lot happier with this person because look at how great. It's just like, it opens a whole Pandora's box of, and again, what I'm trying to say is like, it's going to give you a very big window of what your insecurities are. And so if you'd like to take that moment, let's say you slip and you're like, oh my God, better tits, better ass, better body, more accomplished.
Smaller nose, no double chin.
Yeah. More accomplished, funnier, has good relationships with their family. Yeah. Has better style, whatever it is. Let's say you slip and you find out all of those things rise to the surface. Check in with yourself. Wow, I am reminded right now that I am really critical of my ass. I'm really critical of my body. I'm really critical of how unaccomplished I feel. I feel like those are things that they are only my problem to deal with. They're not this girl's problem that has nothing to do with my ex and maybe wants nothing to do with him ever again.
For real.
My partner.
Yeah.
You know, like I want to reserve the right to leave her alone. I want to leave her alone. I want her to go in peace. She probably wants to go in peace. And I just feel like it's only continuing to complicate the relationship with myself and with my partner. And that's going to get messy. Also, how are you going to talk to your partner about that? I stalked your ex and I have all of these feelings and now I need you to answer all of these concerns that I have. Whoa. What are we talking about?
Yeah. Yeah. Because you're going to want them to validate you for all the comparisons you just drew. And that is not the vibe. Like, it's not the energy of someone who is secure within themselves. And so it's like, we quite literally, and I say this all the time, but like, it will become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, everything that you might not be even conscious or aware that you feel or think about yourself will bubble up into the surface of your mind the second you get into a relationship. So it's like, find out what those are now and start repairing on your relationship with them now, because getting into a relationship isn't going to resolve your insecurities. It's only going to inflame them if you haven't begun the work that you need to do to mitigate them on your own. So it's like, or make peace with them. That's the other thing, is like, some of my insecurities like are my body. Like, my nose is something that, you know, also comes from a family member pointing it out. But like, that's something that for the longest time was like my biggest insecurity. I still talk about it. It's like, I hate seeing profile shots. I feel like I have a giant nose, and the response I get from everyone's like, what are you talking about? I've never noticed that about you. Right. But in my mind, because it's all I've hyper focused on for so, and guess what? There, unless I decide to go get a nose job, which I'm not, because like that's not how I value spending my money, but to each their own. That's just not the vibe for me. Like it's not going to change. So me sitting here and beating myself up over my nose isn't going to make the bones shift in the night. Like that's just not how it works. Right. So it's like, how can I come to a place of acceptance of my nose and be like, you know what? Is this necessarily the nose that I look at on so-and-so's face and envy? No. But guess what? This is my goddamn nose. This nose serves me well. It does its job. It's on my face. It hasn't kept me, you know, from attracting people in the past. It's not going to keep me from attracting people in the future. So let's just accept it and be like, you know what, nose? You do you. You're great. You have value being on my face. Like, literally. And I will look at myself in the mirror and say things like that about my nose. Because it's a relationship, that I consistently need to fuel with myself in order. Otherwise, if I just decide to start focusing on what I don't like about it, guess what's going to start happening and how I'm going to be feeling about it. So, you know, we need to just love yourself.
Yes. Such a good example. Such a good example. If those insecurities rise to the surface because you've been stalking, you've been lurking, your curiosity will literally be insatiable. There is not enough Instagram content or TikTok content in the world about a particular person that you are sensitive about in order to fill the need of your own insecurities.
Making you feel good about yourself.
Exactly.
No, it's not going to happen.
So those moments when you find out the things that you find yourself being really insecure about, those are the areas that you need to direct more love to. Like Alex just described, she spends time in the mirror looking at a thing that she was conditioned to not like, and she has recommitted her time to showing it love. I've done the same thing with my teeth. I used to be really insecure that my teeth are really like small. I've
never noticed that about you. See?
Exactly. Guys. This is what I'm saying. So I have been really insecure about my teeth being small and just like small mouth in general.
That's so weird.
Wait, do you remember? I'm going to pull this memory out. I'm going to leave names out of it because this is people that we don't know. But at BBT in our like first years together, like probably the first year, there was like a comment. There was like a little joke made about me having like a little turtle mouth. Like a turtle.
God, yeah, I do remember that.
You remember that, right?
I do remember that.
I was never, I was never aware. Just so you do that. I was never aware that was a thing. And I am now 30, almost 31 years old. And I still think about my identified turtle lip, right? I know.
It tracks though. Ballet class is the worst.
Okay, no, it wasn't ballet's fault. It's just the shitty comments that we make to each other. Yeah, it's people. Yeah. I don't fault people because people don't, especially kids, we don't realize that the things that we're going to say to another person could stay with them for literally 20 years. Ever. But I think it's one of those things where I've been insecure about, and I've had to do a lot of recommitment of loving myself. But I wanted to tell you, I had a dream recently. I had a dream that I had like a totally different set of teeth. It was a total nightmare. I'm not going to describe what the teeth looked like because I don't want to like place any shame on anyone, any type of teeth that I could describe in someone else. I could just tell you that they felt so foreign and unfamiliar to me that I was deeply upset in the dream, that when I woke up, I was like, oh, my little teeth. I was so grateful. I was like, I was so happy to see them. Yeah, exactly. I was like, oh, they're mine. And I was like genuinely happy, really. And I was like, it sort of rejuvenated this like recommitment. I was like, no, I love this about myself. I don't have to hate this. Like I was taught to hate it. I don't have to continue to hate it. Like I get to make a choice in that. And I guess I just wanted to bring this up because I think that like there's so much projecting going on. Let me just say this. Generally, there's so much stress that we all experience in our lives that if there are ways in which you can be aware of how you add that stress in the already big salad mixing bowl of stress that is going on that you cannot help, if we could please try to work on the things that we can at least be in control of, those things don't have to be there. My insecurities about my face, my body, how I compare to my partner's ex doesn't have to be there. It's not going to go away overnight. Those bones don't change overnight, but I can commit to like redirecting the conversation with myself or putting a cap on where I lurk. I can say, yeah, it does make sense that I want to look into my partner's ex-girlfriend or ex-partner. That feels very tempting. And I totally understand why I want to do that. And I'm really trying to be kinder to myself. And I feel like that's not going to help. So I'm going to just put it down.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And then go do something that does make you feel luxurious and beautiful and sexy. And like, you know, Brie and I talk about this a lot, but like, well, I'm comfortable talking about it. Like, I'll take nudes for myself. I was telling my boss about this the other day, Kayla. I was like, yeah, like it's a vibe. Like when I'm brushing my teeth and I think I look hot or whatever, it's like, I'm going to take that photo to celebrate my own sexuality and sensuality as a woman without feeling the need to take it for somebody else. Like, fuck that. It's mine. This is my body. Like, why can't I take nudes for me and be like, oh my God, those panties look so good on me. I'm like, oh my gosh, I looked so hot that day.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, we need to ditch the script of this conditioning of like, of like, I can only feel this way if I'm doing this, or I can only take these kinds of photos if for this reason, or I can only... It's baloney. It's all baloney. Says who? Says who?
Yeah.
Literally.
Agreed.
So,
also,
you know, for anyone, go ahead.
I was going to say, that's what the hidden photos feature is for.
Yes.
Take the nudes, put them in that hidden folder. No one's going to see it when you're scrolling. It is before we move on, taking like nude pictures of yourself is a really effective way to like, repair that relationship with your body, your reflection, your sexuality. I don't care who you are, but many of us that are listening to this podcast have been conditioned to hate themselves. I share that with you. And I also know that getting familiar and being comfortable, like taking nude photos out in my own private spaces has really helped. It's really, really helped.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a vibe. It's like, you know, I talk about that with physical touch too. Like a lot of folks who have a love language of physical touch and maybe they're recently single, they're like, well, how am I going to get that need met? It's like, girl, touch yourself. Give yourself a hug. Yeah. Give yourself a hug. Grab your own boobs. Like, geez, like literally like love the skin that you're in, because when we starve ourselves of our own physical affection as a means because it's not good enough, that becomes the vibe. Like, because you've made that decision, that is exactly what takes place, where it's like, no, like this does matter. Like giving me this love, God, I love giving myself hugs. It feels so good. Like I have an immediate response the second I'm like, ooh, it's just like, it feels good. It feels good. Be open-minded about like, you know, this is how I love on myself. This is how I show myself tenderness and support and compassion and like just love, you know, it works. It really does work if we can tell our ego mind to go check out for a second. Like clock out. You're taking a break, ego mind. I'm going to go try this. I'm going to go touch myself. I'm going to go grab my boobs. I'm going to give myself a hug. And I'm just going to like enjoy the sensation of having hands on me. Like
no one else is in the room. No one else is there. No one's judging you.
You don't need to do it on YouTube, okay? Yeah. I do it on YouTube and Instagram because it's my job, but that doesn't need to be you.
We're touching our boobs on Instagram? All right. I didn't know that's what we were doing.
No, I don't do that, but I do this. Yeah. I don't do that. I save that for private time. But,
or at least get paid for it. If you're going to touch your boobs on the internet, get paid for it.
Visit my OnlyFans. I'm just kidding.
That's what I'm saying. Collect your coin.
Yes.
What a funny way to end this. Well,
I think it's great. Go touch yourself.
Touch your boobs.
Yeah. Give them a good squeeze. Honk.
If you want to know more about touching your boobs, write to our podcast at www.ditchthescriptpod.com if you're curious. And while you're there, give yourself a breast exam. Check. Oh, you know what? I went to the doctor yesterday. You know what my doctor said? I don't know why this information wasn't shared with me by a provider beforehand. Obviously, we were talking about giving at-home breast exams, whatever. But what he said was, if you're looking for lumps, like they would be painless lumps.
Yes,
not painful. So they're not. Not if anything that you're feeling is tender, like that's not. Nothing to be concerned about.
And I went to a practitioner and asked about that because I did have a lump, but it hurt, and they were like, "It's most likely a caffeine cyst," is what they told me. Which I was like, "How does that happen?" Yeah, so I stopped drinking as much coffee. I only drink 1 cup a day now, but I used to be like in college, throwing it back. And that's when this happened. And he said anything that doesn't hurt is something you want to be concerned about. So yeah. Good to know. Good to know. I'm glad that he shared that with you. But yeah,
I don't know why I didn't hear that
how
before.
us women. Yeah, we should know that. We should know these things.
Added to the list of the lack of education that we should have had
on women's bodies specifically.
And our sexuality.
Okay, that's another podcast.
That's another podcast. Yeah. If you want us to talk more about the education that we have not been given on women's sexual health, write into our podcast, www.ditchthescriptpod.com. You can also follow us on social media, TikTok and Instagram, Ditch the Script Pod. Go to our YouTube channels, go subscribe there, go watch our videos. It's the whole thing. It's the whole kit and caboodle.
Spam us with your love.
Yep. We have one more week of answering questions and taking interesting topics before we cover Bachelor in Paradise.
VIP. We're going to
VIP.
Mexico.
Is it at the
I'm
same
so excited.
beach? Is it the same beach every time?
year. I mean, it has been. Maybe they'll mix it up this year, but yeah, it's usually the same villa, the same, I don't know, whatever that place is. But it looks great.
Can't freaking wait.
Me neither. It's going to be a good time.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. We'll see you next week, or listen to us. Okay. I'm just going to stop talking. Bye.